Millennials, why are your kids so awful? And more importantly, why do you think it's so funny? Your kids cannot read. They cannot write. They are ill-mannered, and they're monsters.
Kids can barely read. They can barely fucking read, and y'all arguing so they can say standing on business in the middle of class instead of fully articulating thoughts.
This little girl just come up and hit me.
Girl.
There she is. Oh.
Sit down.
No! I'm trying my stuff, yo! Yo, motherfucker's trying my stuff, bitch! The f*** you didn't say? I'm on the line.
You can literally tell these kids that they're gonna get an F and they'll be like, I don't care.
It's gotten to the point where like you literally can't tell these parents anything because the automatic response is always gonna be,
well, wait till you have your own kid.
Well, it's not your kid. I do what I want with my kid.
Bro, well, clearly you don't because your kid still can't read. So what exactly do you do with your kid? What up, everybody? I am the Mademoiselle, and this is my channel. And today, as you guys can see, we're finally going to be doing part 3 of why these kids can't read, okay? Why Generation Alpha is literally a hot ass mess. Sorry it took so long. I honestly forgot that I was doing this series, okay? And for this part, I already told y'all I was gonna get on these parents, okay? We got on these teachers in the last video. If you guys did not watch that, I will link it down below. So now we need to get into these parents, because to be quite honest with you, there's been a lot of discourse online regarding millennials, or shall I say zillennials, okay? Because a little bit of Gen Z, but it's a lot of millennials that are raising Generation Alpha. And Generation Alpha is a huge discussion because they are literally wreaking havoc on these teachers, on these nurses, on literally all of the adults of the world. And it's very nuts because let's be real, right? Everybody always talks about the younger generation, okay? The older generation is always like, oh, well, you guys are this, you guys are that. But this is probably one of the very few times where you see the younger and the older generation coming together to be like, yo, millennials, get your shit together, get your kids, okay? Because literally they're going to grow up to be menaces to society who not only not know how to read, but are probably not going to be able to have any careers in life because they can't do anything, because you literally are raising iPad children. All right, so let's get into it. Of course, before we get into this video, please make sure you guys smash that subscribe button, smash that like button, smash every button you know that can help a sister out. If you guys love my hoodie, it is parts of the Melt and Chill collection, as well as a lot of other things I have in the merch shop. Please be sure to check it down below. We also have this cute ass blanket in there and a lot of other things in the shop. I absolutely love this blanket. I usually wear it every single time I'm filming or just editing, and yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite items. And of course, if you didn't listen to my single yet, go do so, okay? It's playing right now, and I'm sure you heard it in the intro, so please get it together. So when it comes to the millennial generation, I know all about it. You know why? Because I'm a millennial, okay? Now, funny enough, I've always been a millennial. I will always be a millennial, and I don't give a fuck what anyone says about millennials, okay? Even though for whatever reason, a lot of people may group me in the Gen Z instead of millennials trope, because for whatever reason, depending on where you look, some generations shift. But when it comes to like millennials and onward, I don't know what it is, but a lot of times like some of the decades shift into others. So that's why I'm saying zillennials, okay? So I was born in 95. From what I understand, we was always considered millennials, but apparently some people and some sources do list us as Gen Z. But I'm a millennial, bitch. Fuck out of here. But that's neither here or there. To understand why millennials are such horrible parents, more than likely you have to look at who millennials were raised by. The baby boomers and or Generation X.
If you get mad, even if you get offended, so what you gonna do? Because I guarantee you can't beat me up.
No. And if you ask me again, it's gonna be no the next time too. You better stop your crying or I'll give you something to cry about.
Millennial parents were ruining our children, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because my children now are adults, and I can see a little bit of the error of the ways. So my 20-year-old is living with us again. Love it. I'm super happy that he's here. I love it that he can come back to us. But he kind of has a say. He feels like he has a say about getting a job and sitting on the couch all day playing video games on his phone. And I'm like, no, you need to get up, find a job today. And he was not prepared for it, and that's my fault. I didn't prepare him for that. I did not prepare him for the ruggedness of the real world, kind of producing that safe space that our parents didn't provide for us. But I realize now that our boomer parents may have not done the best job explaining things and getting us to buy in, but they gave us grit.
Now, as a lot of us know, and a lot of us who are watching this video may have experienced, Generation X and baby boomers were not the best parents, okay? A lot of millennials grew up with parents who had to experience the crack pandemic, who might have literally went through addiction, abandonment issues, and so much more, who were very strict, unforgiving, intolerable. We also have a lot of those parents who probably didn't go through such tumultuous situations that just had very problematic parenting styles. They were strict, non-tolerant, restrictive. Of course, we all know about corporal punishment, okay? A lot of people back then believed in beating the hell out of their kids. Shit, there's a lot of people still to this day that do believe in beating the hell out of their kids, even though now it's something that's being frowned upon a lot more, especially with millennial parenting, gentle parenting, and things of the such, right? So when you look at how a lot of us millennials were raised, a lot of us kind of had traumatic childhoods, okay? A lot of us had parents or adults in our villages that just didn't tolerate no shit, okay? It was straight home, school, church. If we stepped out of line, we got screamed at profusely, or we got hit, or we specifically just were scolded for like the littlest things. If we came home with anything less than an A, it was like, boy, like, what the hell do you think you're doing? You know, like, girl, like, you need to get your shit together, like, or you're never going to be shit in life. Now, when kids come home with like an F or like a D or a C or anything like that, it's like, oh, it's okay. I'm going to talk to your teacher. Shit, back in the day, that shit would never happen, okay? It would never. All right. It's very interesting. Like, the parenting back then versus parenting now is completely different. And I will say I'm happy for a lot of these kids, but I will say it's completely out of control because a lot of these kids are not being parented. They're being tolerated. And a lot of these kids do not know boundaries. And a lot of these kids are literally reaping havoc. Okay. Also, one thing to take into consideration is that a lot of millennials as well as Gen Z grew up in a society where a lot of their parents might have not been around. Okay. As you guys saw in one of my latest reactions, we reacted to a mom that was saying that her daughter wasn't hers because she was way too dark. Right. So as you guys noticed in that reaction, the mother didn't grow up with her parents, but neither did the daughter. So they both were brought up by a guardian that wasn't even a family member. And even me growing up, I had a lot of friends that weren't brought up with their parents either. And I'm like, that's very interesting. And obviously that's not just a generational thing, but I will say a lot of millennials were raised by different types of people in their family, whether it was a grandparent, a guardian, and so on and so forth. Comment down below if you were one of those people and it drastically affected who you are today, because I feel like that's something that needs to be talked about as well. People should be raised with their parents, okay? Kids need their parents. I genuinely don't think it makes logical sense for people to be having kids that they can't raise. That's why when people try to be like, oh, well, you can have a nanny if you don't have time to have kids. Bitch, are you stupid? Like, I'm sorry. For those guys that have nannies, that's cool if that works for you. But personally, if I don't have time to have a kid, I'm not going to have a kid, right? That's just my personal opinion about it. I don't believe people should be bringing kids into this world if they cannot take care of those kids. So in a general sense, I believe that millennials have had a lot of trauma growing up with baby boomers and generational X, and it's definitely translating to how they are raising their kids. So of course, how are they raising their kids?
Listen to what this child calls his mama.
there's a bunch of business cards just stacked up on the counter. You know, it's a medical office, and the kid knocks them all over and starts mixing up all the different business cards on the floor of the office. I look over at her mother, thinking she's gonna see this and be like, oh no, you can't do that. No, she looks up from her phone, looks at her daughter, and starts hysterically laughing and says, isn't she so cute? Ma'am, I have to clean this later. If that were my kid, I would have yelled at it and then cleaned up the mess it made and then made it apologize to the receptionist. And I know millennials with children are gonna hate this because they're the most self-righteous people on the planet, but maybe you should be less concerned about me and more concerned about the fact that your kid cannot read. When I was in 2nd grade, I was getting assigned by my teachers at least 100 to 150 page books, me and my classmates. Your kid cannot read basic words or spell basic words, and you're cool with that. That is crazy to me.
If you can't stop interrupting me when I'm trying to do my job, then you gonna stare at a wall and do some worksheets. Right, yeah, guess what? I gotta go old school. I can't be cool fun teacher all the time because y'all like to run over her. Okay? What?
Honestly, I feel like we definitely could not do this video without talking about how horribly behaved these kids are, specifically because a lot of them are spoiled. Now, I feel like due to the disparity of a lot of millennials growing up, the fact that a lot of millennials didn't have their parents, the fact that the ones that did have parents had parents that were way too strict, way too intolerant, and just didn't take no shit. So now they have kids that they're like, you know what? I'm gonna give my kid everything that they want. I'm going to be the gentle parent. I'm going to be the happy parent. I'm going to basically be a pushover. And I hate to say it that way, but that's basically what it is, right? And honestly, you guys need to understand being a gentle parent versus being a pushover parent is completely different. Gentle parenting is definitely a really great way to parent your kids, but these people are genuinely not doing it right. That's why these kids are definitely running amok. And it's definitely causing a lot of problems because now these kids are running around thinking they can do whatever the fuck they want. They're running around like they own the world. They don't respect authority because their parents are not even their authority. Whatever it is that they want, whatever it is that they cry for, whatever it is that they throw tantrums for, they get. And that is not an effective way to handle a child, whether it is your child or just a child in your life. Kids need to be brought up with boundaries, rules, and most importantly, order. And none of these kids have any of that shit, okay? A lot of these parents are definitely just shoving iPads in these kids' faces and giving them whatever it is that they want to shut them up when they feel overstimulated or overwhelmed. Now, of course, I could not do this video without talking about the iPad kids. So the iPad kids, ladies and gentlemen, okay, iPad kids are definitely a huge topic. And honestly, I must say right now, I can't stand iPad kids. I think that it is an issue. I feel like kids should not be given an iPad till they're like at least in middle school. I feel like giving a child an iPad or even a phone at a very young age is extremely problematic, specifically because you're giving your child unrestricted internet access and anything can happen to them. Also because it just literally gives them unlimited screen time. And I know, yes, you can just limit the screen time. Yeah, you could take it away at night or whatever the case may be. But I feel like there's so many other things that kids can do to alleviate boredom that does not require you sticking a screen in their face to shut them up specifically because you're overstimulated or overwhelmed. The whole idea of these iPad kids, I didn't think was that big of a deal at first. You know, when I started seeing kids running around with iPads, I was like, okay, this should be great because it will sharpen their motor skills. You know, it's going to make them more technologically advanced. You know, they're going to be able to like use computers and, you know, when they go to school, y'all, apparently it's kind of making things worse because from what I understand in school, there's a lot of teachers that are saying that a lot of these kids can't even work a proper computer. They only know things via apps because they're iPad kids, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, okay? They only know how to tap and swipe. They don't know how to type. They don't know how to click. They don't know how to copy and paste. And it makes so much sense because when I was working with kids last year and I had to teach them how to code certain things, because I was working with a program where we did STEM and dance, I had to teach them how to code their dance moves to certain programs. And we had to do a lot of copy and pasting. And they would be like, hey, miss, how do you copy and paste? And I'd be like, oh, it's just CTRLC. And they'd be like, what? And I'm like, Control C. And they're like, what? And I'm like, y'all on your phone, y'all on the iPad, y'all got computers in this school. Like, how y'all can't? It was just so strange to me. And I thought that maybe, I swear to you, this might sound crazy because I literally jumped the gun. I was like, okay, maybe it's a learning disability, but no, it's specifically because these kids are used to iPads. They're used to swiping. Because when I was giving them iPads, because there was times where we only had iPads to work on. So there's times I would give them iPads to do the same thing and they could do the work perfectly fine on an iPad. And I'm just like, oh, Lord Jesus, we got a problem because these kids are only adapted to apps. Life is not all about apps, okay? If we want these kids to be accommodated to real life, okay, and real technology and shit like that, we need to actually get them accustomed to all types of technology, especially the technology that's actually out there in the real world, okay? Not just a freaking iPad or Android tablet, because that is crazy as hell to me. Of course, the whole idea of having an iPad kid is also problematic because we all know the strain that technology has on our eyes. There are so many times where I'm looking at my phone too many times and my eyes just literally just give out on me and I just can't look at the screen anymore. And I know for a fact a lot of these kids, there's no way they're not feeling how my eyes be feeling, bro. I know their eyes are feeling exactly how my eyes feel after looking at my screen for too long during the day. Also, there's a genuine safety concern, okay? Some of these kids could be logging onto sites that they shouldn't be on, clicking on things that they shouldn't be clicking on, giving their information to people that they shouldn't be giving their information to. And yeah, there's some parents, not even, very few parents that actually are smart enough to put locks on their kids' devices, you know, automatic shut off times and things like that on their kids' devices, but many of them don't. Okay, a lot of these millennials, okay, a lot of us, we trust our kids, okay? We trust our students. We trust kids a little bit too damn much, okay? We sit there and we're like, oh, they're not gonna do nothing. They're not gonna go on PORN hub and, you know, do no caca. They're not gonna, you know, click on this miscellaneous link and think that they're gonna win $1 bazillion and have their location hacked and then get followed from school. You know, crazy enough, that actually did happen to one of my students, but that's for a whole nother story, possibly on the Patreon one day. But all I gotta say is safety is a genuine concern when we're giving these kids $100,000 devices to just play games on because we don't got time and we just want them to shut up for a little bit. And then of course we need to understand that this shit is fucking annoying to the masses, okay? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've gone out to eat and there's literally a 3-year-old listening to Coco Melon or Gracie's Corner in the corner and it's loud as fuck and it's like, damn, could you get the kid some damn headphones? And I mean, okay, that, of course, I have to talk about that point. We really shouldn't be putting headphones on kids. It's not good for their ears, but there are kid headphones, okay, that are good, that won't damage their ears. Okay, but it is quite annoying, like being in a restaurant and you're blasting, you have your kid blasting their shit on the iPad. It's like, Jesus Christ. Do we not have any consideration for the other 100 people in this restaurant? Of course, we need to talk about how a lot of these millennial parents are children themselves, okay? And I'm not talking about how young they are because at the end of the day, a lot of us are grown enough to have kids. But the fact that a lot of them are stuck in their age of trauma. A lot of people don't talk about this, but sometimes when you go through so much trauma, especially at a young age, you're kind of stuck at that age that you received your traumatic event at, if that makes sense. So if you went through a very serious traumatic event at 15, more than likely your mind is going to be stuck at 15, still processing that trauma.
The reason that we can be kind of, we call it developmentally arrested, meaning we're stuck at a certain age because something happened to us. And that is why you're feeling childlike and you're struggling to act and feel like an adult because you had that trauma when you were a child. And the reason that our brain does this, it's actually kind of fascinating. They believe that our brain holds us in this childlike, usually it's around the age when the abuse or trauma occurred. We'll feel like, let's say it happened when we were 8 years old, we'll still feel around 8 to 10 years old for a lot of our life until we process through the trauma. And so the cool thing about it is that by recognizing that this is happening, we can begin processing, aka removing that rock.
So to add to that, there's a lot of very immature millennials out there and Gen Zers that have absolutely no fucking business having kids. And to add to that, they are trying to be their children's friend and not their parent. And that is causing a lot of problems. They are not disciplining their children. They are literally coercing their behavior. They're enabling their behavior. So when teachers are coming and telling them like, hey, you need to tell your child to not do this. Your child did this. Your child is not behaving. They're like, oh, well, maybe they didn't want to do this. Oh, maybe you did this, or maybe it's your fault. And it's like, bro, no, your child is low key mean as fuck. Okay. Your child is a bully. Okay. Your child is not listening. Your child is not paying attention. And you're sitting here and you're like, oh, well, no, maybe it's your fault. That's a problem. There's no way in your right mind as an adult you think that it makes sense to tell a teacher, an administrator that is taking care of your child during the day or for a majority of the time that maybe it's your fault that your child is acting that way when you're the one that enables their behavior because you're a kid your fucking self. You still have a childlike mentality. And this is gonna really piss a lot of y'all off, okay? But that leads me to my next point, okay? A lot of millennial parents, okay, especially when it comes to Gen Z, okay, these Zillennials, that little group of Zillennials, a lot of y'all care more about your appearance and being young and partying with your kids and being that cool parent instead of actually being a parent, okay? And that piggybacks off of my last point. It's absolutely strange to me how a lot of you guys want to look like you're 15 and act like you're 15 and do all of these damn procedures to stay looking young. You're so afraid of aging to the point where literally you're still acting like a child. It's literally an issue. And I feel like that's something that really needs to be addressed as well. And it's gotten to the point where like you literally can't tell these parents anything because the automatic response is always going to be, well,
Wait till you have your own kid.
Well, it's not your kid. I do what I want with my kid.
Bro, well, clearly you don't because your kid still can't read. So what exactly do you do with your kid? What exactly do we do with them? Because I don't understand. Your kid can't read. Your kid's disrespectful. And quite frankly, we're genuinely concerned with the kid's future and not even just that kid, the ones around them too. All right. And on top of that, we genuinely do need to talk about the crisis that is these parents dragging their kids on social media.
You don't raise your voice at your daddy. Because when these niggas break your heart, that's who gonna protect you.
They said they hope you learned your lesson.
If she run away, she run away. That's her. She gonna lose everything she ever had in her life. That's her. Trust me, baby. This is the first punishment she ever got.
I did it to my daughter, too. Her name is Heavy on it. Hey!
Now, of course, we know these kids are bad as fuck. Okay, we've seen them, but at the same time, look who's raising them, right? So it's crazy. It's a continuous cycle, right? We have Gen X and baby boomers who have raised the Gen Z and millennials, okay, the Zillennials, who are now raising Generation Alpha, and they are embarrassing them on the internet continuously for their bad behavior that they have enabled. And it's just very strange and disgusting to watch because it's like, bro, you can't sit here and be mad at a child acting the way that A, you act, B, you tolerated and enabled, and C, that you literally perpetuate on a continual basis and you more than likely will continue to perpetuate after this damn video after you get your 15 minutes of fame. A lot of these parents literally just want their 15 minutes of fame. And that's another issue. A lot of these parents, I feel like, just be having kids for the wrong reasons, okay? We see all of these parents literally get pregnant. They got an ultrasound. They already got a fucking Instagram for their kids. Why? Like, what are we doing here? Why does your kid already have an Instagram? Like, why does your kid already have 10 names? And why do we need to sensationalize everything? Then we have these parents that are like dressing these kids up to be adults. I already did a video about that. That is fucking strange. Like the affinity and the fetish that a lot of people have for actually like literally having a kid instead of raising a kid is strange. A lot of people just want to have a kid as a prop. And I think that's the main issue here. They don't want to raise the kid. They don't want to take care of the kid. They don't want to take responsibility for the kid. They don't want to be financially responsible for the kid or anything like that. They just want a prop. Hence why they're just throwing iPads in these kids' faces anytime they get bored. Hence why every single time these kids do something, they're enabling their behavior because they don't know what to do. They don't know what discipline is because they're not disciplined themselves. They don't know how to help these children grow up because they didn't grow up themselves. So now we're perpetuating a horrible cycle. And it's sad because I see a lot of my friends, right? Okay, they're millennials. Okay, they're Gen Z. And they got kids. And I hate to say it, but I cannot get down with a lot of their parenting styles. And I've literally stopped talking to a lot of my friends because of it. Because it's just like, ugh, are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to? Are you sure you're, you know, and I know a lot of people are like, but you don't have kids. But still, at the end of the day, I'm a human being. I work with kids. And on top of that, wrong is wrong and right is right. And I'm not talking about like little preferences here and there. Like, oh, well, this one's homeschooled. I don't agree with homeschool. Or, oh, well, why would you let her wear these little shorts? I don't think that's appropriate. No, I'm talking about like drastic shit, like smoking cigarettes in front of your kid type shit. You don't do stupid shit like that. OK, you know, or going clubbing and leaving your kid at home by themselves. Come on. It doesn't make sense, right? You know, so specifically, I feel like there's certain people out there that just literally don't want their kids, and it's contributing to this phenomenon that we're seeing of millennials, okay, and Gen Z genuinely just being shitty ass parents, okay? It's contributing to these kids not knowing how to read because kids being educated, kids learning skills has a lot to do with reinforcement.
My students don't care about getting Fs. And granted, like they're in elementary school, so I know their grades they do matter. But like colleges are not gonna see their grades. But it's the fact that they don't care. I'm trying to instill in them now how important education is and why it's important to want to get to good grades, why it's important to want to do well, and they just don't care. I asked a student today and I was like, do you care about school? Like genuinely, do you care about your grades? Do you care about learning? Do you care about doing well in school? And they looked at me and said, no, I don't. So no matter how many flips and tricks I do, caring about school comes down to the parents. If the parents have a positive outlook on education, that will trickle down to their child, and that child would also have a positive outlook on education. Kids mimic what their parents do. So if their parents don't care about education, their child probably won't either.
Whatever these kids learn in school, you have to reinforce at home. And if these parents don't have the genuine interest, they don't care, they care about themselves, they're being vain, they're genuinely narcissistic, where the fuck do you think these kids are gonna learn that from? Like literally on TikTok, you have beige moms that are literally taking their kids' toys and dyeing them to freaking fit an aesthetic. Like this is what these kids are having to grow up with. I'm scared for Generation Alpha. I really hope I don't end up in a nursing home because they're going to fucking kill us all. They're going to kill us. They're going to see us as their parents. They're going to be like, I hate this generation of fuckers. Kill them all. They're going to kill us. Generation Alpha is going to grow up to fucking hate us the way that millennials and Gen Z hated baby boomers and Gen X. Guarantee it. And we need to start turning this around, because it's really, really sad. I know for a fact I am not going to be raising an iPad kid. I ain't got time for that. Okay, shout out to those of you guys who are not raising iPad kids. And I understand that, you know, no, actually I don't understand. It's one thing for your kid to have an iPad, but it's another thing to have an iPad kid. Okay, and if that bothers you in some type of way, then you're a part of the problem. There's no reason why your kid should be in front of an iPad more than like 1 hour to a day. And I understand some of you guys use it as a learning tool, but your kid could learn other things in other ways, the same way we learned when we were kids. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down below. Please make sure you guys peep the description box for everything that you guys consistently ask me about down below. Check out my other channels, check out the merch, and I'm gonna see y'all next time. Bye.